In the spring of 2024, Las Vegas glittered under a relentless sun, its casinos and chapels promising reinvention with every flashing sign. For most visitors, the city was a temporary escape, a place to gamble, to marry on impulse, to forget the ordinary life waiting back home. For Elena Voss and Marcus Hale, it became something far more permanent and far more final. Elena Voss was 31, originally from a quiet suburb outside Portland, Oregon. She had moved to Nevada 3 years earlier, drawn by the promise of anonymity and the steady income that came from managing social media accounts for mid-tier influencers. Her own online presence was modest, an Instagram feed of desert sunsets, coffee art, and carefully curated travel shots. Behind the filter, however, Elena maintained a private subscription platform under the name Lena Vale. It began as a side experiment during the pandemic: artistic boudoir photography, tasteful lingerie shoots, personal essays about confidence and autonomy. Over time, it grew into a reliable second income, enough to cover rent on a small apartment near Red Rock Canyon and occasional weekend trips. She never showed her face fully in the content. Masks, shadows, and strategic angles kept her identity separate from her day-to-day life. To her friends and family, she was simply freelancing in digital marketing. Marcus Hale was 34, a structural engineer who specialized in casino retrofits. Born and raised in Reno, he had spent the last decade traveling between Nevada job sites, living out of suitcases and company-provided apartments. He was steady, methodical, the kind of man who double-checked blueprints and kept his word. He had been married once before, briefly, in his 20s. The divorce had been amicable but left him wary of commitment. When he met Elena at a networking event for hospitality professionals in early 2023, something shifted. She was quick-witted, warm in conversation, and carried herself with a quiet confidence that he found magnetic. Their first date was dinner at a quiet Italian place off the Strip. By the third, they were spending weekends hiking in Valley of Fire, talking about futures neither had planned on sharing so soon. The relationship moved fast, fueled by the city's perpetual motion. Marcus proposed after 18 months, on a clear October evening at the top of the high roller observation wheel. He knelt with a simple solitaire ring he had chosen himself, no flash, just sincerity. Elena said yes without hesitation. They decided on a small wedding in Las Vegas the following spring, nothing extravagant, just immediate family, a few close friends, and the iconic neon backdrop that had come to symbolize their life together. They booked the Little Chapel of the Stars on Fremont Street for April 12, 2025. The ceremony was intimate: 30 guests, white roses, a string quartet playing soft jazz standards. Elena wore an off-the-shoulder gown in ivory silk, simple yet elegant, with a cathedral-length veil that caught the late afternoon light like spun sugar. Marcus stood tall in a charcoal suit, eyes never leaving her as she walked the short aisle. Vows were exchanged under an arch draped in fairy lights, rings slipped on, a kiss that drew quiet applause. Photographs captured the joy, the couple laughing as confetti fell, Elena's veil billowing in the breeze from an open door, Marcus lifting her slightly off the ground in celebration. The reception followed at a private room in a nearby boutique hotel. Champagne flowed, toasts were made, a small band played. By 10 o'clock, most guests had drifted away, leaving the newlyweds to retire to their suite on the 23rd floor, a honeymoon package with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Fremont Street experience. The room smelled faintly of lilies and fresh linen. A bottle of chilled Dom Perignon waited on ice, courtesy of the hotel. They changed out of formal wear. Elena slipped into a satin robe, Marcus into lounge pants and a t-shirt. They stood at the window, arms around each other, watching the zipline riders streak past below in bursts of color. For a while, everything felt perfect. The turning point came just after midnight. Marcus had stepped into the bathroom to brush his teeth when his phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a notification from a social media monitoring app he used for work, something he had set up years ago to track brand mentions for clients. The alert was innocuous at first, a tagged photo from a friend who had attended the wedding. But as he swiped through, a suggested post appeared in the feed, a thumbnail of a woman in lace and shadow, face partially obscured by a veil-like mask. The caption read, "Newlywed glow, but the night is still young. Subscribe for the after-party." The account handle was @LenaVale. He froze. At first, he thought it was a coincidence, someone using a similar name, a photoshopped image. But the more he looked, the more details aligned. The curve of the shoulder, the faint freckle pattern on the collarbone he had kissed only hours earlier, the antique silver locket she always wore, now visible in the frame. The post had gone live at 11:58 p.m., tagged with a Las Vegas location. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed, heart rate climbing. He opened a browser in private mode and searched the handle. The profile loaded, hundreds of posts, thousands of subscribers, paywalled content promising exclusive glimpses. The bio read simply, "Behind the Veil. 31. Las Vegas." No full face shots, but enough recognizable fragments to remove any doubt. Elena emerged from the bedroom, hair loose, smiling. "Everything okay? You look like you saw a ghost." He held up the phone. The screen glowed with her image. The room went quiet except for the distant pulse of the city below. Elena stopped. Her expression shifted from confusion to recognition, then to something colder, resignation. "Marcus, you told me the side work was just marketing," he said, voice low and even. "You said it was client management. Not this." "It started before us," she replied, stepping closer but not touching him. "It was never about hiding from you. It was about keeping one part of my life separate. I didn't think it would matter once we were married. It matters now." He scrolled further, stopping on a recent upload timestamped 2 days earlier, a teaser clip, her voice unmistakable, laughing softly as she adjusted lighting. "We're married, Elena. Hours ago. And you're posting this tonight." She crossed her arms. "It's my income. My choice. I never cheated. I never lied about loving you. You lied about who you are." The argument escalated quietly at first, measured words, then sharper ones. Marcus paced, Elena sat on the chaise, explaining how the account had begun as empowerment, how subscribers were strangers, how she had planned to scale it back after the wedding. Marcus countered with betrayal, trust, the humiliation of discovering it on their wedding night via an algorithm suggestion. By 12:40 a.m., voices had risen. He accused her of using him as cover. She accused him of judgment, of wanting a version of her that didn't exist. He grabbed his jacket, said he needed air. She followed him to the door, pleading for calm. They stepped into the hallway. The corridor was empty, carpet muffling their steps. Marcus pressed the elevator button repeatedly. Elena reached for his arm. He pulled away. What happened next unfolded in under 90 seconds. The elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. As the doors closed, Marcus turned to face her. Words were exchanged, harsh, final. In the confined space, tension snapped. He raised his voice. She stepped forward, hands out in conciliation. In the struggle, whether to restrain or to push away, her balance faltered. The elevator lurched slightly as it began its descent. Elena stumbled backward, her head striking the brass handrail with a sickening crack. She crumpled. Marcus dropped to his knees, calling her name. Blood appeared on the floor, dark against the polished metal. He pressed the emergency stop, then the alarm. The elevator halted between floors. Security arrived within minutes. Paramedics followed. Elena was pronounced dead at the scene from blunt force trauma to the skull and resulting hemorrhage. Marcus was taken into custody, dazed, repeating that it was an accident. The Clark County Coroner's Office ruled the death a homicide. Autopsy confirmed no defensive wounds on Elena, but bruising on her arms consistent with a brief struggle. Toxicology showed only alcohol from the reception. The elevator had internal cameras. Footage showed the push, the fall, the moment of impact. It was not premeditated, investigators concluded, but reckless in the heat of passion. Marcus Hale was charged with involuntary manslaughter. He pleaded no contest, citing overwhelming emotion and lack of intent. In January 2026, he was sentenced to 4 years, eligible for parole after 2. The judge noted the tragedy's layers: a marriage of less than 6 hours, a secret life colliding with expectation, the fragility of trust in a city built on illusion. Elena's family held a private memorial in Portland. Her OnlyFans account was taken offline by the platform within days, per policy on deceased creators. Subscribers posted condolences in the comments before access vanished, some sympathetic, others callous. In the years since, the case has become a quiet cautionary tale among Las Vegas wedding planners and officiants. They speak of it in hushed tones, the couple who arrived radiant and left in tragedy, the veil that hid more than symbolism. No one knows exactly what words passed in that elevator, but the city remembers the outcome. The neon lights still flash. Couples still marry on impulse. But somewhere in the archives of the Clark County Detention Center, Marcus Hale serves his sentence, replaying the night when love, secrets, and a single moment of rage ended everything. The end.